We'll move now to the oil sector, where a report says that oil-producing African countries have increased their crude production quota, and they now account for 35% of newly discovered oil reserves in 2024, and that's a substantial rise from just 7% in 2023. And some of the African countries have, these were countries or regions where oil production wasn't as much as it is now, but Nigeria is still the largest oil producer or oil producing country in Africa. There are about 12 oil producing countries in Africa, but the thing is, when it comes to newly discovered oil reserves, in this report, Nigeria was not mentioned. Does that mean that we're not putting enough investment, doing enough in oil exploration and in building our oil reserves, Doc?
Well, I think we've seen a lot of challenge within the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. A lot of investments were put in, and you remember in the immediate past regime, we did so much, and there were so much rules about the fact that Gombe now is also an oil producing state. That crude was discovered in commercial quantity and some area around Lake Chad Basin, because government actually pumped money. But we have not heard so much about it. Whether the exploration has commenced or something like that. And so, Nigeria is not there. Because, and I'm not sure we have been able to demonstrate that we have found new crude. And so what we have is still the 37 billion metric tons that is under our foot, maybe in the south-south. And until there are official information that's available to OPEC, it will be difficult to say, oh, was Nigeria in there? But I think that there's a whole lot that needs to be done in terms of prospecting crude in Nigeria, because we're not done so much. No thanks to the problem of insecurity that the nation has faced over a period of time. And I think if we are able to deal with the problem of insecurity, then of course efforts can actually be made to invest into that sector and see how we can actually make new discovery in terms of oil and gas in Nigeria.
Let me quickly speak to the issue of discovering new oil frontiers or new oil wells in Nigeria. And so the money that was committed into trying to look for crude in some northern states. Now, I don't know, but it sort of looks like politicization. So it's not just Niger Delta that has crude oil. Let's look for other regions where crude oil is found. Now, were there sufficient information that suggested that perhaps there was crude oil deposits in those areas where money was pumped to, was put in to explore, to see if oil can be explored in those areas? Given the amount of money that the government committed to that, and at this time we're yet to see the commencement of exploration in those areas, the recovery of money that was put into that area, does it seem like we're not intentional about the investments in the oil sector?
Okay, if you look at Nigeria very well, in every administration, the chief executive somehow would give some form of concession to his region. And that's one of the manifestation of that concession was rightly explained by the Buhari government. And he gave that concession that wants to explore this oil deposit in the northern part of the country. And it's going on, and it's still on. Well, I wanted that to be a success. I'm sure most Nigerians do. But how long are we going to continue doing that? And if we are getting to a place of near success, is another question we need to ask ourselves. I will not be surprised if before the expiration of the Tinubu administration, we see any move to drill in any part of the southwest states for the presence of oil. I know Ondo State is maybe already a member of the oil producing states in Nigeria. But if there would be any form of such concession from Mr. President for us to equally toe that line. So there should be a responsibility from the government agency, most especially from NITI, its full involvement in this, and also to draw out the propensity if what we have spent billions of dollars or naira looking for is actually present in that place. Because if it's not, we cannot continue to speculate and to spend money to sustain our speculation. The Niger Delta, where you discovered oil, how much have you done to make sure that there's this healthy environment where we are taking oil from in that place? We are not unaware of the recent disposition by the current administration to go back to Ogoni land to continue drilling, whilst the cleansing of that environment is not even in second or third in the list of the agenda to clean the environment. So are we going to continue to remove that and not put into consideration the human cost, the environmental damage? Are we going to continue to involve in this act without putting our communities and the society into consideration? Because if you don't put them into consideration, then this question needs to be answered. For whose interest is the exploration for? Is it for the generality of the public, or is it just to suit and to satisfy personal interest? That question needs to be answered. And as a nation, we must come to a place where we need to have a conversation that centered on objectivism. We must have a collective objective drive to tackling issues. And if that objectivity is lacking, whether from within your own enclave, as a region or as a state, or from external enclave, we must begin to have healthy criticism, constructive criticism, to hold everyone and anyone involved into account. Because if we do not do that, the same way we had the Niger Delta Development Commission, the Northeast Development Commission, the North Central Development Commission is going to take place, and this time it will be in the oil sector, whereby the Southwest can start to drill its own, to look at. But that would be good. That would be good. I don't think that. No, that would be good if it is being, on the other case, we have a reliable information on hand to work with and not to dispense dollars.
We will be going deeper into this issue when we get to policy discuss. But in the meantime, I think that whatever investment that we're making into the oil sector, we should be intentional about it. And it's not necessarily about discovering new areas where oil can be explored. The question is, for the areas that we've discovered already, are we doing enough? Are we even drilling sufficiently in those areas? That's a question that we'll look into.
Yeah, but it's able to look at the prospects.
Let's leave that for let's leave that conversation for
because there are two different
later.
things. Look at the prospects. The Secretary of OPEC is saying the potential for Africa is around 120 billion barrels of crude, and Nigeria accounts for 37.5 billion barrels. What we are talking about now is just hovering around 8.8 thousand barrels from Cote d'Ivoire to the Southern African states. But why is Africa not creating that enabling environment for investment in a very high profitable market?
Okay.
It's where the conversation really needs to be.